As any observer who isn't comatose knows, those of the Novus Ordo anti-church have no shame about descending into madness and buffoonery. Indeed, this total lack of shame is a result of madness and of malice. They know that most of the world mistakenly considers this entity to be the actual Catholic Church. Thus they want to make it appear as absurd as possible. Notice Francis, in this and so many other instances, making what most people think is the actual Catholic Church appear to be absolutely absurd. Now this reminds me of the recognize and resist crowd. Not the malice, but the madness. Just now on the so-called traditionalist blog, Rorate Celi, I read the title and the beginning of this article. Here's the title, quote, "The current crisis of faith in the Church has its ground in the new Mass," unquote. Analysis by Father Michael Gertner. The madness begins in the very title of this article, in its reversal of cause and effect. Because the Novus Ordo was first a result of modernism, before it was also a contributing cause of its furtherance. Anyone who has studied these things knows this. I mean, this is an elementary fact. The architects of the Novus Ordo were working for decades before its appearance. Now, the madness of this essay continues in the first paragraph. Quote, "At present, the modern church is working to change its internal constitution, transforming itself and by its own initiative from a hierarchical church, as willed and instituted by God, to a synodal and therefore humanly constructed church. In the one and only Church of Jesus Christ, which is the Catholic Church, a process of successive detachment from divine revelation and from Christ himself has been underway for decades. It is thus a process of self-destruction. The Church is currently tearing itself apart from within. Unfortunately, the question is now very legitimate as to how Catholic the Catholic Church on earth still is. Is it really still as Christ intended and wanted it to be?" Unquote. So much for the four marks of the Church, one, holy, Catholic, and apostolic, and so much for the divine promise of indefectibility. They believe that the gates of hell are prevailing over the actual Catholic Church. But they fail to see that since hell has manifestly prevailed over this entity, it therefore cannot possibly be the actual Catholic Church. The author of this essay, therefore the Rorate Celi blog, clearly they don't believe in the divine promise of indefectibility. No, they believe that this entity, now run by Francis, which they call the actual Catholic Church, they believe that this entity is defecting. As he says, it's in a process of self-destruction. They have tossed aside the divine promise of indefectibility, and yet they claim to be traditionalists. This is madness. But it's a kind of consistent madness, as it were. After all, those of the recognize and resist position believe that one can manifestly not be a Catholic and yet still be an actual pope. In other words, they believe that one can be the head of a body of which one is not a member. They believe that there can be non-Catholic popes. And this is a kind of madness. The same kind of madness that would lead one to believe that there can be, quote, square triangles, or that there can be men who are actually women because they identify as such. Yes, friends, madness is sweeping the earth. Madness. Even among those who call themselves traditionalists. And those who reject the madness, who call it the madness that it is, are called extremists or conspiracy theorists and all the rest of it. This too is part of the madness. I, for one, refuse to participate in the madness, in the war, the demonic war against reality, therefore against truth, and therefore against our Lord Jesus Christ. I won't participate. Will you?